Okay. Hello. Okay, everything is up and running. So first of all, good morning. I'm looking a little bit disheveled because in our new life, when life gets too hot and steamy and I've been working too much, I jump in the pool. So I wanted to go live today. It's my aim to really get my butt in gear and do lives once a week. And but I'm quite busy creating my online group coaching program called Good Girls No More. So I know many of you would be familiar with the fact that I work closely with women with good girl conditioning. And I write extensively about this in my weekly newsletters, but not all of that reaches all of you. So I also just wanted to let you know that I'm offering a small group of women a very, very reduced rate on the first round of my Good Girls No More course. It's going to be live. It's going to be 12 weeks. So we have 9 modules, but we also have every 4th session is like a checking in, Q&A, etc. And I will put a link to the application form in this video. And yeah, if this speaks to you, because once I roll it out, it's going to be significantly more to attend. But in order to be in the first batch, what I'm really asking is that you fully present every module or every live call, and you give me feedback of what's working, but especially also if there's anything that's not working, and finally to write a testimonial. So if that's something that you are keen to be a part of, please reach out to me. And also in the comments, I will put the application form. Now we're going to be talking about, or we're going to touch and delve deeper into issues such as people pleasing, as abandoning yourself, perfectionism, the imposter syndrome, being compliant, and many other things that of course stops us ultimately from really living our full potential, and even more importantly that we are living a less authentic life. So on that note, I just wanted to make sure that those of you who are not on my mailing list, that you know about this. So I've had a bit of a break on the production or creating the program, because as many of you know, I have moved countries, and that's proved to be takes a lot more than I last remember the last few times that I have moved countries. So one of the things with being a good girl, or having good girl syndrome is another way that I talk about it, is that we get very afraid of disappointing others. Now, healing this, really getting comfortable with disappointing others is actually a key aspect to help you break free of this cycle of seeking approval. And another big piece with the good girl is avoiding rejection. So when we're conditioned to be good girls, it's like we're self-sacrificing, accommodating. Big one is to prioritize the needs and feelings of others over our own. And that can really lead to this constantly seeking approval of others. And of course, this big piece on disappointing others. And we do whatever we can not to do that. So when you've been conditioned to be a good girl, and it's not just the message that we were told, like, oh, you're such a good girl, but it also goes deeper than that. It is it comes from dysfunctional families. It comes from one of the trauma responses is called fawning, and that's when we realize we can't run away, we can't fight, so we please and appease in order to stay safe. So in those situations, if you are a good girl or recovering good girl, we feel like we need to meet the expectations of others to be accepted and loved. And this might not even be a conscious thing for you, or it's something that you're very aware of. But, you know, what we do is we tend to constantly put our needs and feelings, others ahead of our own. So over time, there's all sorts of things that this could lead to, but certainly the feeling of resentment, burnout and exhaustion, and really just this disconnection of really from your true self. And that's why I talk about authenticity. And sometimes it may even get to a point where you feel like you're living someone else's life rather than living for yourself. So part of the journey, a good girl, you know, the self-discovery journey of a good girl, or rediscovery, a really critical step is to embrace the possibility that you're going to disappoint others. Now, this could sound counterintuitive, but when you have the conditioning of having to put others first no matter what, and you put so much energy into that, and then you still disappointment, you get their disapproval, that could trigger a whole bunch of feelings like anxiety, shame is a big one. And then of course we get into this whole loop of the fawning behaviors, really doing whatever you can to avoid rejection. And you know, the abandonment wound that we all carry goes so deep. And so in this case, we do whatever we can to avoid that. But you know, you also give your power away when you're always putting others ahead of your own, or often. And then directly or indirectly, you're allowing others then to dictate your life. In a way, you become a bit of a passive participant in your own story. So in order to, you know, facing the possibility of disappointment or disappointing others is actually a critical step in healing or recovering from this, what I call good girl syndrome. Not necessarily an easy process, but it really requires you to confront your fears. And like I said, it could be rejection, abandonment, and really learning to sit with the discomfort of knowing that you've disappointed somebody else. But in doing so, you can really start to reclaim your power. And when you take on the disappointment of others, you can really start breaking free of this cycle of approval seeking, people pleasing, etc. But of course, it is understandable that when you are so ingrained in this, I have to please others, it can feel really scary. So there's several common challenges when you're a good girl and you have to kind of face the fact that you might disappoint others. One of the challenges, of course, is you have no idea what your own needs are, because your focus is outward, looking at where you need to fulfill others' needs. So then you actually don't know what your needs are, or you're unclear, and then it's even harder for you to actually get those needs met and take steps to put yourself first. Another thing is, of course, I talked about the fear of rejection. Because then if you start setting boundary and let's say, no, I'm not going to do that, or that's not okay, of course you're going to worry that others are going to think that you're selfish or unkind. You might feel guilty, you know, because you're prioritizing the needs of others. Maybe you feel like you're letting others down. And of course, with the boundary piece, difficult saying no. You might be in the office and you've got like a heap of work to do, and then somebody comes say, hey, can you just do that? And already you can't finish your work, but you just say yes anyway. And the fear of what people are going to think if you say no. And good girls tend to feel like you have to say yes no matter what. And of course, there's a big one around fear of conflict. Like, let's imagine that you set boundaries or say no to others. You might worry that that's going to lead to an argument or a breakdown in the relationship. And of course, we put so much into the relationship. And, you know, it doesn't have to be an intimate relationship, but like friendships as well. So these are just a handful of challenges that can really make it super hard to face disappointing others. And I know this very well. I'm a recovering good girl myself. Thankfully, those behaviors show up very rarely now that but you know, once in a while they show up. So I'd like to just share with you a simple practice to start, you know, befriending this sense of disappointing others. And so that you can really sense and observe the body's reactions. But practicing observing the sensations and feelings that arise, your awareness starts to cultivate this experience so that you can start befriending and being with when things start to feel difficult. So first step is to just, something's happened and you feel like, yes, my brother, my friend, I'm sensing that they're disappointed, or I'm just making up a story that I've disappointed them. So step one is to sit and be present in your body. And when you notice a sensation, a feeling or thought grabbing your attention, just pause. Take a couple of deep breaths and allow this to take up a little bit more of your awareness. Step two is to acknowledge what the sensation is by labeling it. You might label it as fear. Perhaps it's anxiety. Nervousness. Might even be shame, guilt. And notice when the body or your awareness, where in the body this awareness is focusing. So that might mean that notice any characteristics of the feeling, like maybe it's got a certain shape. It feels a bit pointy, like square. Is there a color or a texture? Prickly, smooth. Maybe you notice a temperature. And this helps you to connect to somatic experience of it. Because the thing is, our mind can be very fickle, makes up all sorts of lies. However, the body doesn't lie. So the more you can actually do this in your life in general, the more you can get past the lies that the thoughts are telling you, and instead really feel what's real in the body. And then step three is to observe what the sensation does as you pay attention to it. Maybe you need to take another couple of deep breaths. Is it still? Is it buzzing or moving around? Does it get bigger or smaller or stay the same when you're bringing your attention to it? And just be curious, be super curious. Now this practice doesn't have to take very long. It might even take just a few seconds, 30 seconds. And the more you get accustomed to doing this practice, you can do it with all sorts of situations, like another type of trigger. Just noticing it. And if I notice for myself, I kind of notice there's a little bit of a tension to the right of my solar plexus, kind of just above my rib cage. I breathe into it further. Yeah, and there's like it feels compact, tight. And yet when I bring it a bit more tension and I breathe, it softens a little bit. And then I notice that my body needs to sink a little bit deeper in my seat. There's a little bit of overall tension as I'm sitting here on this live. And so as I allow myself to sink a little bit more, the tension feels a little bit less. See, that didn't really take very long. But already I noticed what my body was trying to tell me. Now, so really embracing the idea that you will disappoint others. Being with that it is going to happen. That also means that you can start recognizing that we can't please everybody. We can't be perfect and unflawed with every person in our life. We can't always be there and focusing on everybody else. It's kind of like having an empty cup but wanting to offer it to somebody else so they can drink. What we need to do, just like on an airplane, is if the oxygen mask cups down, we first have to put it on ourselves, and then anybody else that we are supporting, like a child or an elderly person. But this disappointing others, overall, it's a crucial step in the journey of healing, but also self or rediscovery of who you are if you're not the good girl. Could be uncomfortable or challenging, but it's really worth it. Reclaiming our power, living authentically, you can lead more fulfilling and joyful lives. So this is just one of the many topics that I'm going to be covering in my upcoming tester workshop, Good Girls No More. So please get in touch if that sounds interesting to you, and I can provide you with more information. And we are going to be, the aim was actually to start in May, but suddenly moving country, that all got pushed. So all being well, we'll start next month. So with that, I'm going to finish up now. I'll put the link to the application for the testing group in this post. And I really look forward to hearing from those of you who would like to simply learn more. There's no commitment needed from your side just because you sent me a simple application form. All right, from my heart to yours, have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye for now.